Welcome back, boxing fans, to another live with Sean on boxing. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done a live. Obviously, we had Christmas and New Year's, which people were very festive. There wasn't that much to talk about during that period of time as well. And then recently, I was just in the hospital for 4 days. So that's kind of killed a little bit of my content. But I'm happy to be back. Happy that you're here with me. Let's get back after these messages. Welcome back. So right now, we're coming into a renaissance in boxing. And we've talked about renaissances before, renaissance with Eastern Europe and how we have more elite level Eastern European fighters than obviously ever before, because before there was no Eastern European fighters. Obviously, the Japanese renaissance that we're getting right now, which is ridiculous. Japan is just pumping out champion after champion after champion, and the pipeline seems to be very long and very deep, with a lot of good young fighters coming. If you watch True School Sports, he's talking about a lot of them, so pay attention. And then, of course, now moving into 2025, we knew 2024 was great. The money really started to flow. Obviously, we'd been initiated to Turkey Al-Sheikh and Saudi Arabia prior, but last year, obviously, the water fountain opened and we saw a lot of the great results of his participation in boxing, which was needed because, of course, the year before, the PBC had really generated a lot of great content. But last year, the PBC was kind of gone and disappeared completely outside of 4 or 5 pay-per-view events. And obviously, Canelo is not going to be working with the PBC this year, which means going from 5 pay-per-views to potentially 3, maybe less, depending on what happens moving forward. But thank God, Turkey Al-Sheikh and the Saudis are bringing the big, deep pockets to boxing. And you and me, the boxing fan, are the ones benefiting. I hear a lot of negativity, but I don't understand these people that are all about negativity. So you're a PBC fan, that's fine. You can still be a PBC fan, but love what we're getting from Turkey Al-Sheikh and Saudi Arabia, right? One does not emit the other or omit the other. If you're like True School and Sean, what's his face, and a few other people, Sean Zattel and others that are just very anti-Saudi Arabia and talking about sports washing. This is the biggest joke ever when people fucking talk out their ass with regards to this. This is like LeBron James crying and moaning about the current state of, the social situation in America, but then getting paid millions of dollars from China and ignore that completely, right? No one talks about China, social, sports washing, or any of these other countries. I mean, the country who has the worst history globally is the United States, as far as creating conflict, creating wars, destabilizing governments. So everything they do is sports washing to keep the population ignorant of how the government has continually fucked over the population of America. All to do what? Help big business make lots of money. But we're not here to go on that. We're here to talk about boxing. And what's going on now is fucking fantastic. If you're a boxing fan, the fact that now Ring Magazine has new life, the fact that all this money is flowing into the American market and the UK market, thank you very much, Turkey, and the big long-term plans they have of creating like literally situations that are going to benefit boxers and boxing fans moving forward. I heard Tim Bradley shitting on him because, well, he hadn't created a retirement package for these fighters. So he's only just got involved in boxing. Nobody was asking fucking Al Heyman to create fucking a retirement package for American boxers. Like, slow down. It's not like potentially that won't be something that Saudi Arabia and the Turkey Al-Sheikh and the rest of them potentially do bring into boxing. But at this point, one step forward, right? We need to slow our roll of our negativity just to try to find ways to moan and groan, piss and scream. I mean, boxing is killing it. And if you're a boxing fan, that should be your number one concern right now. How well boxing is doing and what we have to look forward to moving forward. I, for one, am super excited about what's going on, and we're going to be talking about that today. So thanks for jumping in. Raph, what's up? Stringer from above. Yo, Sean, John, what's up? First live in 2025. And it rhymes, right? Man, Sean, I'm fiending for a big fight. I need my fix. Well, you're getting it. Obviously, we're getting probably the biggest card in boxing history, February 22nd, right? We're not going to talk too much about that today, but it'll be one topic of discussion. Obviously, we've talked about that a lot, and we're going to be talking about it moving forward. We also have a Nui's fight, which unfortunately is not an opponent that really is going to grab anybody's attention, but it's a solid card as well with a lot of other top young up and coming Japanese fighters on it as well. And whenever we get to see the monster go out and knock somebody's head off, that's always very exciting. Also, soon, February 1st, I can't wait for Benavidez Morel scrap. Another great scrap, right? Literally, the card itself is not fantastic, but it's not bad. Mostly every fight outside of the number one main event is pretty much predictable. Morel Benavidez, a true 50-50 fight. I'm seeing more and more people leaning towards Morel to beat Benavidez. I've consistently been one who's supported Morel to beat him as well. So I feel that's going to be a great fight. And it'll be interesting to see all the Canelo haters that talk about how he ducked Benavidez are going to sort of be exposed if Benitez literally gets beat by Morel, a fight that people were literally talking about before the Canelo fight, because that was a fight that was in-house and easily could have been made by the PBC. Sean says, I got Morel. 2 more weeks. You better not duck me, son. Canadian boy, Sean Newton. What's up, Andre? I got DB. Hollow Ninja. Oh, thank you very much. You're a prince of a man. Turkey Al Sheik getting hate from Tank Davis is completely wrong. Turkey wants to make great fights, pay fighters large, and grow the popularity of the sport. Tank doesn't want to take part in big fights. Why be mad, clown? Well, that's the point. If you don't want to be involved, you don't need to be involved, right? Turkey put out a feeler for you to fight Devin Haney in a huge fight, but you didn't want it. You weren't interested in chasing big fights. You were more interested in fighting PBC pay-per-view events that nobody wants. And that's consistently what he's given us, fights that nobody wants. Ryan Garcia is by and far the biggest fight of his career. And I literally heard Knockout Boxing going, oh, so when Tank Davis fights, Ryan Garcia, he's just a social media person and no one special. But now that Devin Haney's fighting him, it means something. It's significant. Are you a clown or what? Like, you see this from dudes all the time, how they try to compare one fighter to another. But yet you can't call Tank Davis the face of American boxing and then hold him to smaller expectations than you do for fighters that obviously aren't getting that kind of praise, right? You're comparing like Tank Davis to William Zepeda, as if William Zepeda's expectations are the same as Tank Davis. One guy who's been a world champion in multiple divisions, one guy who's never even fought for a world title. But our expectations are going to be the same? Of course they're not, right? And this is the thing with these guys, hating on Canelo because their expectations are for him to fight the best fight every day. But then you're going to give Tank Davis a complete pass. I like Tank. And like many boxing fans, all I want to see is Tank involved in great fights, right? To see how good he really is. And if he wants to jump on the bandwagon and get paid big money to make fucking legendary legacy fights, he knows where to go. If he chooses to act as if somehow he is the face of boxing, yet nobody is interested in any of the opponents he's fighting, and he has no potential opponents in the future that he can even look forward to fighting, who is he going to fight after he fights fucking Lamont Roach, a pro box fighter? Is there anyone? Like making excuses of why he shouldn't fight people and that they should all chase after him. Knockout Boxing's upset because now these guys don't need to chase him. Why would they bother? Why would they chase Tank Davis and his politicalized bullshit, the PBC bullshit that we've had to deal with for years, when they can go fucking fight under Turkey, get deals done fucking like that. And even if they get beat, no, they're still going to get big fights moving forward. Why would they deal with it? They don't need to deal with him. He's on an island to himself that literally nobody's interested in. So be happy, do your thing, eat your coconuts, no one cares. Andre, what's up? I'm good. Mexican Boxing Amoro says, dang, what happened to you? You missed a lot of these YouTube streets. How is Lily? Lily's good. She was getting laser therapy because, hard to walk and move now. So when I was in the hospital, she was getting laser therapy at the vet. So, we've both been recovering. Tank YouTube channels capping for Tank so much right now, like Upper Echelon and Knockout Boxing. Not even H Money defending Tank as much. Well, Knockout Boxing literally fucking is a Tank Davis boxing channel. That's what he's become, right? What I accused him of before, of being a pro PBC fanatic channel, that's what he's ended up becoming. Tank doesn't like that Boxing World is getting things done without him, right? And that's the thing. Boxing is moving on. And unfortunately now, the clout you had, you no longer have. Lomachenko didn't fight you because you fucking weren't going to pay him what he was worth. He doesn't need you. You need him. And you need him more now than ever before. Because literally, as I say, who is Tank Davis going to fight in 2025? When he does his Lamont Roach fight, barely gets 250 pay-per-view sales, and understands that he just ain't fucking generating the kind of money he did with Ryan Garcia fighting these low-level opponents. What's he going to do now? Where are we? Hollow Ninja says, can you pull up BFTB's tweet about Tank? It was pure foolishness. Welcome back, Mr. Newton. Hard Recoil, welcome back. I didn't see what BFTB said, but he must be hating on Tank because he is the LDBC. The LDBC is all about Devin Haney. I wonder what they're saying because I haven't really listened to too much of their content or his tweet. But, they should be all over fucking Turkey because he's given their boy every opportunity that he wasn't getting previously, right? They're giving Devin Haney a way back to the top. You heard PBC done in May, according to Rick Glazer, Amazon Prime, not working with PBC. I did hear that. I used to like KO 68's content, but he literally only talks about Tank on every video and live. I know. That's what he's become. Because Errol Spence fucking, who he dick rode before, so then he had two fighters he could ride off of. His career is done. The Charlo's careers are done. The only guy for the PBC still holding anything down is Tank Davis. Right? And now Canelo's gone. So literally, they have one fighter that is successful. One. And if he's going to continue to fight pro box level fucking fighters, pulling up in weight, who's next? O'Shaquie Foster is probably next, right? But we will see. So let's see what's going on in this boxing world. Why all this stuff chopping up on my fucking live? So obviously what's going on with Turkey is great. He is reinventing, and I have a video coming out more specifically about this, but the welterweight division, right? Rejuvenating one of the most popular divisions in boxing. Obviously, at this present time, outside of Boots and a bunch of fighters who are not interested in fighting him, who've totally walked away from contracts to fight him for unification, there wasn't much going on. Nobody wants to fight him, so people are literally trying to push Boots to 154 pounds, where at least people are fighting, where there's money and opportunity. But now, thanks to Turki Al-Sheikh bringing up Ryan, Tio, and Devin Haney, the welterweight division is hot again, right? Hot again. Obviously, I think Boots Ennis is the best out of all of them. He is obviously the much more natural welterweight compared to the rest of them. So I do expect that he, at the end of the day, is going to be the best out of all of them. But hats off to all of those guys who want to get involved, because that's what we want boxers to do, right? Take on challenges, fight great opponents, and prove that they are great. You think Jamal could possibly make a comeback at 54? I know he's talking shit, but God only knows what the fuck's going on with him. That's so cringe. He always wants to debate to prove he wins all Tank debates. When he goes all out in his chat, really thinks he owns everybody cheering him on. So cringe. Well, it's just, there's nobody on YouTube that's more of a fucking dick rider for one particular fighter than he is for Tank Davis. It's kind of sickening when that's what you've become. Like the LDBC obviously has Devin Haney's nuts in their mouth, but like fucking, I don't even know, it's not even close to the extent that he's got Tank Davis's. Like fucking, they're tattooed on his forehead, right? It becomes ridiculous. Like, I don't know how his wife feels comfortable with him lusting and loving another man as much as he does. Because you ignore everything great about what's going on in boxing right now, all to dick ride one fighter who's told you he's not interested in legacy, all he's interested in is money. And now when big money comes available that actually does combine legacy, he kicks out and fucking cries and moans because now he understands that he's fucking being pushed back into irrelevance. And that's something he's done to himself. He literally lost 2 debates and KO fans still say he won them. Well, of course they do. Hello Ninja, thank you very much. Reason Tank mad is because he's jealous. He knows that these guys are going to get paid more than him. Tank wants the money, but does not want the risk. Yeah. And him living in the Floyd Mayweather world, being protected by Showtime, and the PBC was doing great until it wasn't. And now it ain't. Because finally, boxing fans don't need to deal with this bullshit kind of fucking politics of boxing. Turki Al-Sheikh is killing the politics of boxing. Literally killing it. There's no need for it anymore because you're all going to walk away very happy men, right? And these are the fights he will let you fight. He will even let you take precursor fights to build up, right? We're talking about currently Bud having a precursor fight, Haney, Ryan, Teal, all having build-up fights before really getting the big fights, right? And you know they're going to get paid well for those fights as well. And whether they win, lose, or draw, whether this leads to bigger fights moving forward, they still have follow-up fights afterwards because he's more than happy to match up the losers against each other in good paydays as well. Because boxing is about matchups. That's what it's always has been about. But yeah, I'm excited, super excited. Let's move forward. So obviously the number one fight getting traction right now is the Crawford Canelo fight. I saw John Boxing moaning and groaning that people are not having the same energy. How come they're not hating on Canelo for taking on fucking Bud Crawford? Well, as you've said for years, Canelo's not the one that was chasing that fight. He's not the one that was interested in that fight. This fight is happening because of Bud Crawford and what Bud Crawford wants. No different than Rigo, Mikey Garcia, and Kell Brook. Guys who challenged themselves to move up to take on better opponents, bigger opponents, and got fucking smashed in the process, right? And the boxing world didn't think any of those fights should happen. We thought Mikey should fight Loma, Bud should fight Spence, and none of those fucking in-between fights should have happened. We know Golovkin was going to fight Eubank, who ducked the fight. And this is always what boxing fans want, the big fights. Nobody's really been pushing for these two-weight jump-ups. People would rather see Canelo fight David Benavidez or top guys in and around that weight division. The winner of, obviously, Bivol versus Benavidez. But to be fair, which fight sells more in the U.S.? This one. Crawford Canelo in the U.S. market sells more than Canelo versus Bivol rematch, more than fucking Canelo versus Beterbiev, fucking more than David Benavidez. Let's just fucking keep it real. No one cares that much about David Benavidez at all. His fight with Morrell, it'll be lucky if it does 120,000 pay-per-view buys, and that will be good. But I'll be surprised if it does that well, right? And not hating, because I'm happy the fight got made, but we got to keep it real. David Benavidez is not some superstar, not some big name. His 2 previous pay-per-views did shit numbers. Canelo wins by knockout. It looks like Canelo versus Bud is going to happen. If you compare Haney and Loma's size and weight difference, it's the same as Bud versus Canelo. It's true, but nobody fucking says that because all these people that push these narratives are pro Haney, anti Loma. Whenever it's a black fighter that has all the advantages, then they justify and defend it. When it's a non-black fighter, then they try to fucking say, how come you don't keep the same energy? Yeah, back at ya. How come you don't keep the same fucking energy? I mean, Bud Crawford's going to go into this fight, the taller, longer fighter, the faster fighter, right, with better feet. He has every opportunity to beat Canelo Alvarez, a fighter who's already lost to a welterweight in Floyd Mayweather. So the onus is on him to do what he needs to do. And Canelo, it's a bad look if he loses to Crawford. But in boxing, this is what we want. We want fighters to take challenges, win, lose, or draw. Rick Laser keeps saying Bud beats Canelo. Well, as I just said, Bud has every opportunity to potentially beat Canelo Alvarez, right? If Bivol and Floyd could beat him, so could Bud. The question is, at 37, 38 years old, does Bud still have the legs to beat Canelo Alvarez? And that's where I sort of teeter-totter on it. Because I think Bud could beat Canelo. But I don't think he's got the legs to go 12 rounds against Canelo Alvarez at this point of his career. And if you don't have the legs, it's going to be hard to win that fight. Loma fighting bigger guys and weight bullies most of his career, but for Canelo, it's a mismatch. Well, doesn't matter. When Canelo was going to go up to cruiserweight to fight for the WBC title, they were shitting on him then, even though he's going up literally from 168 pounds to go up to 200 pounds to fight a cruiserweight. And that was a cherry pick. So if he's going up to fight a cruiserweight, how come he's not fighting Opataya? How come he's not fighting the best cruiserweight? He goes up and fights Bivol. How come he's not fighting better BF? So it doesn't matter. People are going to find ways to hate on it regardless. Terrence Bud Crawford, round 12 KO against Canelo. Well, I don't think Bud Crawford is going to be able to KO Canelo Alvarez. But win a decision? Yeah. Canelo versus Crawford, easy work for Canelo. We will see. Canelo he doesn't have the highest volume, which benefits Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford is going to be able to use his jab, dictate range, stay out of Canelo's range. Canelo doesn't have fast feet, right? Try to walk Canelo into big shots, and the pressure is going to be on Canelo to corner Bud Crawford against the ropes so he can open up on him, right? It's easier said than done. Rumor has it Bud is fighting Sergey Derevchenko for his tune-up. And that'll be a fucking real telling fight. Because we know one thing about Derevchenko. He's a beast who brings it, right? He's going to literally bring that fight to fucking Bud Crawford. And it'll be interesting to see how Bud Crawford deals with a guy like him. If he can deal with Derevchenko and look impressive, then the potential to beat Canelo Alvarez definitely goes up, 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 up. But if he struggles, gets gifted a decision, potentially he might even lose, right? It's no easy fight. That's the thing. All these fights these guys are getting are not easy fights. Derevchenko is definitely not an easy fight. Jamel and Boo Boo had significant size advantage over most of the opponents in 160. The only time they cry about size is when the pack fighter is at the disadvantage. Of course. I think Canelo stops him in 6. If he lands a big counter left, definitely he could stop him. The question is he going to be able to land that shot, right? As I say, I think a lot of it depends on Bud's legs. Too much weight for Bud, it will look like the Charlo fight. To be fair, though, Canelo Alvarez doesn't use his physicality to his advantage. That was my disappointment when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Him trying to outbox Floyd Mayweather is why he easily got beat. If he would have been more like Maidana and physically imposed himself on Floyd, I think he could have won the fight, but he didn't do that. And at the end of the day, if he tries to fight Bud Crawford's fight, he could lose again. What's up, Stash? No, that guy is a beast. He will never be knocked out. No, he's not going to get knocked out. That's a risky fight for Bud. It is risky. Derevchenko gave Billy hell with one hand. And that's the thing. I think he would have beat Billy if he had two hands, right? Billy got lucky and wasn't able to stop him, even though he was like obviously not at 100%. So it's a intriguing matchup. I definitely think it's a great fight for the American market. This is a super fight. And all these Americans hating on Saudi Arabia, how are you going to hate now when literally this fight is happening in Vegas, right? A fight that most of us never even imagined truly could happen is literally happening. It's going to be a huge fight in Vegas. It's probably going to do well over fucking 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, right? Let's be honest. And it's going to get tons of traction in the US market because people love the Black American versus the Mexican. They love it. I got Sergey beating Bud. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all because Sergey is no bum, right? You know, his most defining loss was to Charlo, but Charlo is a much naturally bigger fighter than Bud Crawford, right? Still undefeated, in his career. The only thing that stopped him was his mental fucking illness. Pound for pound versus pound for pound. Exactly. Sergey footwork is amazing. That's one thing I noticed that people are getting in their feelings for. The fact that Canelo said that the only big opponent that Crawford has been in with was Spence. And then, of course, Crawford kicked back. But, of course, he would, right? Because he's going to think his resume is more legitimate than necessarily outsiders see his resume. And we understand why his resume isn't what it could be. PBC, who ducked him from 140 to 154. But what Canelo said is not wrong. Who's the other pay-per-view, pound-for-pound fighter that Bud Crawford fought outside of Spence? But to be fair, people were talking about the Spence-Canelo fight, so why not talk about the Bud Crawford-Canelo fight? But let's move forward. Obviously, it's a great fight. I'm excited. But this is the one that really has gotten a lot of attention, right? Rewriting the welterweight division. Obviously, we knew that the most likely fight for both Garcia and Haney was the rematch. It's a fight that's going to do a lot better traction in the U.S. market the second time around because of the controversy. But nobody expected that these guys would have to come in and face really tough competition in an American fight in New York City. They're trying to do this in an outside venue, New York City, right? Should get a lot of attention. Obviously, they're tying it together with some video game because Saudi Arabia is thinking outside the box, right? They're trying to make boxing popular. They're trying to make it trendy for young people. And they're trying to obviously incorporate anime and video games and boxing together and sort of use that to sort of help build boxing further, which is smart. And Ring Magazine is going to be the sort of main center that's starting all of that. So you do this in New York City, Haney versus Ramirez, Garcia versus Cruz. Great fucking doubleheader. It's going to get tons of attention. Of course, you're going to have the same typical people coming out and shitting on the opposition, but it's like, what do you mean? Literally both of these fighters haven't fought in a year, right? A year. So Garcia coming back fighting Cruz, a tough opponent, not elite, but a tough opponent, is quality. And Haney coming back and fighting Ramirez, who's physically bigger than he is, right? It's going to be an interesting fight. And we know Haney struggled with Garcia's left hand. One of the best punches Ramirez has is his left hand. So don't be surprised if that left hand lands against Devin Haney as well. And this potential super fight between Ryan and Haney, it could literally be happening with both of them coming off of losses, which obviously wouldn't make it as big in the States as it could be. But at the same time, this is what Saudi Arabia is offering you. Big fight after big fight after big fight. You take on great fights. you're going to continue to get paid and be put in great fights moving forward. And matchups determine everything. I think Haney beats Ramirez, and I think Ryan beats Cruz, but you can't overlook these fights, just like you can't overlook Bud Crawford versus Derbachenko. Solid opponents, solid fights. I mean, these fights back in the day would be the kind of fights that boxing fans would expect. And so you're getting those fights, but then you're also leading towards what boxing fans wouldn't necessarily expect, which are huge fights, big American pay-per-view fights, right? Haney going to rehydrate. He'll be okay. They are marketing the fight on SNK Fighting Game, Fatal Fury. I love Fatal Fury. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but I do understand that they're trying to connect these things, which is smart. Not trying to disrespect Bud, but it's just 168 isn't Bud's weight class. He maxed out at 154. Sure. But then the same reason that Canelo has benefited being against bigger fighters is because of his speed, right? Now he's going to be fighting a guy faster than him who could utilize the same thing that he's utilized against bigger, clumsier, slower fighters. Now he is the bigger, clumsier, slower fighter in this particular matchup. But I'm excited. I think, obviously, either one of these fights could be a banana peel, right? All three of them that we just talked about. But isn't that what's exciting, right? And instead of people hating, shouldn't people be excited that we're getting these fights? And once again, this fight's going to be in New York. The Canelo fight's supposed to happen in Vegas. This is bringing boxing to America. They're not pulling it all away from America, right? Turkey's talking about creating a league based in America. Like he's trying to create a league based in the UK. Right now, they talked about how UK boxing is number 2 sport in the UK and how boxing now is moved into the top 10. And hopefully after 2025, it's going to be top 5. And I think it should be. Because outside of baseball and NFL and NBA, what other sport is more interesting and bigger in the US than boxing? And the way the NBA is, you could put boxing above the NBA right now as well. And we know that the Dodgers are going to dominate boxing, baseball. So even that's not that interesting because it's too dominant. The Dodgers are going to be kicking ass for years now. I think Pitbull is very dangerous with his pressure for reckless Ryan, for sure. Keeps his head up there. Not liking Ryan getting big disadvantages like really 144 catch weight, making an already small Pitbull go even more up. Well, the truth is, let's stop fucking doing that because the truth is the fight should be happening at 147. And if Pitbull wants to be in the money, he should be moving up just like the rest of them are. If you don't want to, you could fucking stay down at 135 and wait for that Tank Davis money fight, which you've been waiting for years for, right? At Bud's age and the big jump, I wouldn't be surprised if he gassed out as KO'd. Pitbull should really be 130, 135. He's chasing the money. Let the guy. Why do you care? It's not like he's ever great. He's never been great. He was a no-name fighter that fucking was used by Tank Davis. Ryan, too many advantages, same as Devin and Duarte, catch weights again. See, once again, boxing fans looking for ways to fucking moan and groan and cry about the sport of boxing. No one's forcing any of these fighters to move up in weight, to take fucking fights in weight classes that aren't really their best. Right? Bud's doing it. Fucking the rest of them are doing it. In truth, what would Cruz be doing otherwise if he didn't move up to take on this guy? He'd be fighting some fucking nobody gives a shit fighter at 140 or hoping to get another fight with Tank Davis at 135. So you want the money, you want the fights. Let's not make excuses. Let's not fucking continue to push this negativity. Throughout boxing history, fighters have moved up in weight classes and took on bigger fighters. When Sam Langford went up to fight fucking, what's his face? The heavyweight champion, right? I'm sure people weren't moaning and groaning that he was going up in weight and was giving up such advantages to fucking, what's his face? It is what it is. The fighters don't need to sign the contracts. The fighters don't need to okay these fights. They could go in another direction. No one's forced them to do anything. Haney will come in at super middleweight. Yeah, so will Ryan. So will Ryan. That's why we know their fight is going to be at 147, where eventually they're going to have to run into Boots Ennis. And we'll see how that goes. Canelo may be even faster than Crawford. Well, I don't see that happening. Yeah, Pitbull signed the contract. What's Sean mad about now? I'm not mad about anything. I just don't understand why people consistently still are fucking moaning and groaning when boxing is giving you great fights. What do you want? Like, this is mostly from Americans, right? What do American boxing fans want? Right? Because it doesn't matter what you give them. They're still going to find ways to moan and groan about it. Oh boy, the life started to heat up. Sean is to get off my lawn guy these days. Whatever. Like, dude, I'm talking boxing and hyping up the fact that we're getting great fights in 2025. And other people want to moan and groan because somebody's going to be fighting at a disadvantage. He ain't saying that about Bud Crawford fighting Canelo. He's saying that about Isaac fucking Cruz. Who gives a fuck about Isaac Cruz? In truth, this is the best opportunity Isaac Cruz is ever going to get in his career. So you think he's going to moan and groan about fucking disadvantages? Fuck no. He was just moaning and groaning because the guy that beat him, Valenzuela, moved too much. So whatever, man. Like, either you want to get paid or you don't. Sean, Bud for the upset. Yeah, I would not be surprised at all if Bud wins, depending on his legs. I just think at 38 years old, his legs aren't what they once were. And I think we saw that against Madrimov. Machado, people completely misjudge Canelo's hand speed. Been reading a lot of comments. Canelo fans want him to make the size of the ring smaller to prevent Bud's mobility and distance control. Cowards. Well, of course, right? Because you want all the advantages. That's why I like what somebody was saying recently, that all ring sizes should be mandated. Obviously, heavyweight rings probably should be bigger. But for smaller weight classes, the rings should be standardized. Standardized. We don't need to continue to fucking change ring sizes all the time to benefit somebody and be a disadvantage, right? And hopefully that's another thing Turki Al-Sheikh brings, right? Where we can get away from all this fucking bullshit. Bud, my guy, but he might get beat to a pulp. Bud didn't look good versus Madrimov. Damn, MRP, laugh out loud. I thought he looked good. The problem with Madrimov is Madrimov was in and out too much. You're trying to time him, but he won't fucking sit down on a punch, right? Which is why I don't think he won the fight. You can't win if you don't land shots. And he was too tentative to fucking get in there and actually let his hands go so that Bud could counterpunch him. He knew that if he did, the counterpunches would be fucking dangerous. So he chose to, but not even like Manny, where you're fucking actually like sitting down and trying to throw solid punches. Same here. I rock with Bud, but Canelo going to do him bad. Canelo stopping Bud. David Avician was walking down Bud and had success. I think this is a bad matchup for Bud at this stage. Yeah, it might be a bad matchup, but it's a super fight. He's going to get paid more money in this fight than he probably made in his entire career. Madrimov just too many feints and didn't want to throw. That won't be Canelo. Exactly. That won't be Canelo. That won't be. That's why this fight's going to be a way better fight. And also potentially easier for Bud Crawford because Canelo is going to be there to counterpunch. And he doesn't throw a lot of shots. He picks and chooses when he lets his hands go. And this could definitely benefit the faster, longer fighter. I see Canelo walking down Bud and tearing his body up. But you got to catch him, right? Like, Canelo's never been the fastest-footed fighter. Sorry. So if Bud has good legs, which is the thing I question right now at 38 years old, that might be the difference in this fight, right? Me too. He's going to be hitting them arms. Well, arms and shoulders, right? And let's not forget Teal, because Teal actually has just come into the mix as well. And I mean, this is a great addition because now the welterweight division is really heating up. Not only do you have Stanionis, Boots, Howard, but now you pull in Ryan, Haney, and Teal, potentially fighting who's he being talked about to fight next? Fuck. Oh, they're talking about him versus Boots, right? And then the winner of that fight will take on Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, Boots Ennis should be so excited that the opportunity for him to potentially smash fucking Teal's face in and then smash Devin Haney's face in, it'll truly make him a star in the American market, right? Getting sensational victories against this kind of quality of opposition, right? And people would love to see fucking Boots smash Teal's face in as well. So, it's must-watch TV for sure. Bud going to be almost 38 for the fight happens. Yeah, and that's definitely a negative. Bud didn't get 2 feet in the water at 154, but will Bud be mobile at the higher weight? Well, he's not going to come in too heavy. They're going to be a tournament. Well, that's what this is, right? It's a tournament. So they're giving all these guys preemptive fights, all leading towards bigger and better fights, depending on who wins. And ultimately, that's exactly what we always talk about boxing, right? When we look at cards and you see that, oh man, if this guy beats this dude, this is leading to this fight, right? That's what makes boxing exciting. Then you're excited about the possibility, the potential matchups that we're going to get afterwards, right? And Boots versus Tio, he talked about it, he wanted it, and he might fucking walk his way right into it. We were giving Boots a hard time because he literally ducked the Virgil Ortiz fight. But if you're getting an opportunity now to fight not just Tio at 147, but then potentially the winner of Haney and Ryan Garcia, what the fuck, man? Why would you leave? And if everything is going as we hear, his next fight is going to be obviously a unification fight against Stanionis, right? So it's exactly what he said. I want to unify. And then you're going to get a huge fucking Tio fight and then a Devin Haney fight. Jesus, man. Chalk that up for me, right? It's good news. Bud Loki, 38, inactive, jumping weights to fight the best guy. Good luck. Yeah, but let's be fair. Canelo Alvarez has also looked to slip the last 3 or 4 fights. He hasn't looked that great against, solid opposition, but not fucking elite opposition. So, if there's a time now to beat him, now's the time. I don't see how Bud can win. What do you mean? Establish a range with his jab. Continue to use your feet to stay out of fucking range. Turn Canelo Alvarez. Try to fucking time him with big counter shots coming in, which is going to be there and available to you. And just continue to do that for 12 fucking rounds. Don't get caught up in the ropes, right? We know that Bud is a good wrestler. So on the inside, he should be able to hold and sort of stop Canelo from being effective, at least as effective as Canelo would like to be. And so it's going to be a smart fight, very technical, right? That's what this fight's going to come down to. And I think that potentially is the problem for Canelo if he lets the fight become real technical. Because the problem with him is he doesn't fight enough like Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. during certain fights. Sean is undisputed, twice more impressive than 25 successful title defenses. Of course it is. But let's be serious. When somebody had 25 title successes, he was undisputed, right? Because back in that day, every champion was undisputed because there wasn't fucking 4 belts, which is hopefully something Turkey will fucking get rid of. That's going to use a lot of energy versus Canelo. Yeah, but we know Canelo doesn't have the best gas tank as well, right? And that straight jab, straight to the fucking gut that Crawford is going to be throwing could be very fucking effective against Canelo Alvarez. He also has big shots to the ribs as well. We don't expect those to hurt Canelo, but just to slow him down. And we saw what he did against fucking Bivol, right? Turkey is making boxing great again. Only dying PBC fanboys can hate on him. He is good for boxing, but not for American establishment. They don't have control over it and are mad like Tank and Bradley. Well, that's it. And the thing is, boxing was dying. We've been talking about boxing dying for the last fucking 10 years, especially after the fucking Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight. Boxing died after that fight, right? And it's just been recovering since that. And the fact that we had to wait so long for Canelo and Spence only fucking stuck the knife in again. The fact now we can move away from this shit. We don't need to wait fucking years with bullshit, right? We can actually get fights made. People should be super excited. Do you do pound for pound lists? I do. Blue Raspberry. Floyd and Bivol can beat Canelo clear and almost got robbed, but isn't that masterful? He ain't. Recoil OBC is still good, or PBC. PBC is still good. What's PBC good for? They got one fighter, Tank Davis. Who else do they have? What other PBC fighter are you fucking really excited to see fight in 2025? Sean, you think Bud is greater than Joe Louis? I never said he's greater than Joe Louis. You brought up Joe Louis as a comparable. Joe Louis is a heavyweight, and you're comparing him to a welterweight. So, and you compare Joe Louis's 25 title defenses to Bud becoming a 2, potentially 3 weight undisputed champion, right? You'd have to compare Bud more to Sugar Ray Robinson and Hammer and Hank Armstrong, not to Joe Louis. You want to compare somebody to Joe Louis, compare fucking Usyk. Boxing is alive and well. American boxing is dying. Canelo's slower gas tank will put him in a disadvantage against Skull. That's true if he fights Skull next. Right jab to the body from Bud, counter left from Canelo. Well, we'll see. That's the whole point of having the fights, right? Bud will probably look fast because he's really fast, but Canelo will just evade them or not feel anything, even if touched. The power won't transfer to 168. Well, that's what most people feel, that Bud Crawford won't be able to hurt Canelo Alvarez. Salo Pinto says, what is your pound for pound list? Well, we're going to talk about pound for pound a bit later on in the video, and then I will talk about mine there, and you can feel free to jump in and give me yours. Do you think Dev took long-term damage from Ryan? He looked good in recent training footage. Training footage don't mean nothing, though. People tried to fucking pawn off Deontay Wilder's training footage as if he looked good, and then he got knocked out by fucking Zhang, looking terrible. His legs were shot, right? Shot. Sean, do you see Bud switching from southpaw to orthodox a lot versus Canelo? Well, in most recent fights, he hasn't been switching very much at all. He's mostly been staying in the southpaw stance. I'm asking you. Oh, MP USA got Shakur. Wait, I thought you were talking PBC. Shakur also part of these Saudi cards as well. Wrath, hell no. Who's Skull? What's he done? Nobody. Right? He controversially won that title. He probably should have lost. But he is going to move, box, and fight real fucking Cuban. I don't like them boxers switching stances. Machado, IBF champ, beat Shishkin. Well, Raf, he fucking lost to Shishkin and fucking got a robbery decision. But okay. The truth is, no one gives a shit about William Skull, which is why he had an opportunity from the IBF to fight for that title. Because only the IBF, who's getting payola from fucking German promoters, fucking are consistently putting up these unknown fucking top-ranked IBF fighters that literally aren't top-ranked by any other fucking sanctioning body. Is Black Prime the future? Black Prime fucking is dead in the water. Who's Shishkin? Exactly. Raspberry, no. Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Ray Robertson, Henry Armstrong, Duran, all my top 5 all time. But you missed some of the best fighters in boxing history. But let's move through. Obviously, this fight is going to be a great fight. Ennis versus Stanionis, once again, right? A guy in with a real dangerous opponent. Boots needs to beat Stanionis to get that Teofimo Lopez fight, right? And this is not going to be easy. I think Stanionis is easily the best opponent that Boots Ennis has been in with. So that's going to be an exciting fight, one that I'm excited to see. And coming soon to a theater near you. Then, of course, we have this card, February 22nd, the return of Better Be Evan Bivol. Bivol, obviously a guy who previously beat Canelo Alvarez using boxing ability, right, to outwork and outland Canelo Alvarez, right? So he sort of showed you the blueprint of what Canelo can be beaten by, right? And I stated after seeing Canelo really lose almost every round to Kovalev and get lucky landing that big shot that don't be surprised if Bivol beats him. So don't be surprised if Bud Crawford beats him. If he's got the legs, he could do the same thing that Bivol did. His reach is just as long as Bivol's. But I think Better Biev is going to stop Bivol this time around. Karen is a solid vet with good technique. That shouldn't be understated. I got Stanionis, his left, the way he turns is over the hooks off the jab, will give Boots problems. I just think Stanionis is a much more dangerous fighter than Karen. And I don't think anybody would pick Karen to beat Stanionis if they fucking matched up. Bivol will school Arthur. He didn't school him the first time around. And this version of Arthur is going to be better because he was just coming off of knee surgery going into that other fight. This time, he's had a full camp. His leg is completely fucking healed. So he's going to be able to pressure and put a lot more pressure on Bivol, which is going to force Bivol to have to stand in there and actually fucking fight him off. And unfortunately for Bivol, something he didn't show that he was very good at was holding on the inside. So that could be his downfall. I did my research and analyzed many online polls. The most hated boxers in boxing are Haney, Shakur, and Crawford. That's bullshit. Easily the most hated fighter in boxing is Canelo Alvarez. Easily. Who you got, Keyshawn or Baranchek? Well, let's get to that. That's one of the things we're talking about soon. Oh, here's another fight. The potential fight between AJ and Wilder. This is obviously a fight people have wanted for a long time. And now because Fury retired, this fight becomes that much more viable. I hope this fight happens. It's a great fight. Obviously, they're still dangerous. And who knows who would win in this fight? Whoever lands the right hand first is inevitably going to be the guy who wins the fight. And that's going to be the excitement for that fight. Just knowing that the first guy that lands is going to win by knockout. It's an exciting fight. Sean, you think Bivol gassed some in that fight from the pressure? He did. That's why he lost, I think, the last 3 rounds. Sean Wilder fighting Harper in April. Yeah, that's a terrible opponent. Terrible opponent. Could you imagine if any non-black fighter was taking on an opponent the level of fucking Harper? How fucking the typical same fucking suspects on YouTube would be shitting all over them, right? I mean, Lomachenko got shit on for fighting George Kambosos for a vacant title. Wilder's going to be fucking praised for knocking out Harper, Curtis Harper, the same guy who walked out of the ring to avoid fighting fucking Ifeanyi Jagba. What a bum-ass fucking opponent. You could not pick a worse opponent than him. Floyd Schofield, Keyshawn Davis are taking on world champions at 135 before Tank. That's also the irony, right? Can you imagine? People want to give Tank such a pass, but these two prospects are literally fighting champions at 135 pounds before fucking Tank Davis. That's what I tell everyone that fucking hypes up and caps for fucking Tank. What champion has he beaten at 135 pounds? He hasn't fought any world champions in 135. He was gifted an WBA title because Devin Haney moved up in weight. Like, how much props can you give a guy who literally hasn't fought a 135-pound world champion, but is considered the best guy at 135 pounds? But you never fought a fucking champion. Not one. It's sad. Sad, man. Ninja, yes. Props to Schofield. I'm not surprised for Haney to be number 1 with his daddy. Wilder will be reborn if he beats Harper. Well, that's what people are going to say, right? Literally going into that Anthony Joshua fight, The LDBC going to be fucking all over social media, all over YouTube, talking about, how sensational Wilder was by knocking out Curtis Harper. Sensational, hardest puncher in boxing history. Yet Curtis Harper is probably one of the lowest level opponents a fucking dude could fight, right? AJ is talking about fighting Dillian White. Wilder is going to fight Curtis fucking Harper. You can't make this shit up. And fine, you coming off 2 losses and whatever, take whoever you need to build your fucking self back up. But it's just funny the difference of energy people have. Like, because literally no fucking fighter could fight a Curtis Harper opponent and not get rinsed on YouTube. I want to see Wilder KO. Been a while, not going to lie. They will start talking how Usyk ducking Wilder. They already said that, right? People are already acting like fucking Wilder should get a Usyk fight next, coming off of 2 losses in a row and 1 getting fucking KO'd. But he should get a Usyk fight. Who the fuck wants that fight? Like an AJ Wilder fight, that's fine. Both these guys coming off of losses. They both got knocked out. They both look like they're pretty much done, right? Shot. But at this point, if it makes money, it makes sense. We know that AJ Wilder still makes money. It's still a fight boxing fans want to see. You still got US versus UK, right? There's a lot of excitement around that fight. So it's a fight well worth making. And I guess if Wilder needs to fight a bum-ass opponent to get a fucking victory, okay. But, let's be honest. Nobody's going to watch fucking Wilder versus fucking Curtis Harper. Nobody. And you're going to put that on Black Prime and make people pay for it. Oh my God. Who's going to pay for that? Even fucking the LDBC ain't going to pay for that. Usyk still didn't take the Wilder test yet. Oh my God. You don't need that test. That test fucking proves nothing. Of course, this is another good fight that's coming up. Duarte versus Prograis. See, this is, again, what you appreciate in boxing. Duarte's coming off a loss. Prograis coming off of a loss. Both against styles that didn't really fit them very well. But now, putting them in against each other, what a fucking war this is going to be. It's going to be an exciting fight. 2 limited but hard-punching fighters. I do expect Duarte to score the KO, right? Because I do think he's got more in the gas tank at this point than Prograis does. But you got to be happy that both these guys are getting this big opportunity. It's going to be an exciting fight coming soon, February 15th. Duarte won on a 2-win streak. I think it's going to be fun. 2 hard punchers meeting face to face. This is kind of fight that everybody can enjoy watching. And then, of course, we have Junto Nakatani coming up against very good up-and-coming young Mexican fighter, Cuellar. Not the Cuellar that Tank Davis beat. So, maybe he's related to that Cuellar. Maybe it's his son. But this is a good opponent. Obviously, we're looking forward mostly to what Nakatani is going to do next, which is take on one of the other champions at 118 pounds. One of those fighters is going to be on this undercard as well. Tatsumi fighting against Higa. And hopefully this is the fight we can see. Nakatani versus Tatsumi for unification at 118 pounds moving forward. Obviously, we know that there's been talk about Junto and Inui both fighting on a double header in Vegas under Top Rank. And if that's the situation, Junto fighting Tatsumi, right, for unification. Inui fighting fucking what's-his-face, the other tough Mexican kid. I think that's a great card. I'll be excited for it, especially if inevitably it's leading to the matchup between the 2 of them. That's right. David's a beast. Regis got concussive power in his left. Yeah, that's what makes it fun. Fun fight. Junto fighting your boy Cuellar, Mexican boxing. Yeah, Mexican boxing. You should be jumping in, telling us how great he is. Regis is my favorite fighter. He didn't look bad against Ketrel, but he hurt his ankle. I'll put some money on him. Salas at 118 is really a gem. He fighting for the IBF title next. Who's he fighting? Who's the IBF champion? Is that the light punching boxer or the other limited hard punching fighter? I can't remember off the top of my head. But, you know, I'm just happy these guys are staying busy, right? For Junto, I think the best thing he can do is keep fighting. You fight this kid, tough young fighter. Obviously, Mexican boxing, number one, doesn't think he's got a chance, or else he would be fucking tooting his horn for him to beat Junto. But, you know, Catterall versus Barboza going to be a snore fest. That fight is boring as fuck, but that's a fight that needs to happen. Obviously, the winner of that is going to become the WBO 140-pound champion because Tio is going to be moving up. So that's perfect, right? Tio, get the fuck out. You've been ducking fucking both those guys for too long, especially Barboza. Let those two guys fight. You know, it's a fight like watching Sandor Martin fight Puello for the WBC title. You know, 140 pounds needs some revitalization, right? Because right now, with all these dudes moving to 147, who gives a fuck about the 140-pound division, right? Valenzuela is probably going to get knocked out by fucking, you know, what's his face? What's his face's brother? And then Puello is fighting Martin in a fight that's going to be a snooze fest. Catterall is going to fight Barboza in a snooze fest. Jesus, man. Like, nothing's going on in that division. Sean McComb deserves what Barboza has since he beat him. Oh my God, come on. I'm a Puello fan. Nobody's a Puello fan. That dude cheated and got fucking lost his title because of it. Rayo will beat Gary. I think he should beat Gary because Gary got beat by Puello, who fought very similar to what Rayo did against Cruz. So if he can duplicate that performance, he should be able to beat Gary. But the difference is Gary is a harder puncher than Cruz. He's also taller and longer, not giving up so much advantages as Cruz had to give up. So it'll be an interesting fight. Surprised to you say that, Raf. 140 is 20 deep and nobody making the exciting fights. The problem is a lot of the fighters are boring. Russell should be fighting Subriel Matias. That would be an exciting fight. I got Rayo over Russell as well. Same here. Rayo has more power than Puello. That's true. But Puello, I think, is a little more unorthodox, a little more slippery. After all, he is a two-time champion. But nonetheless, it's still a good fight. Then we have this fight that's happening soon. Inouye versus Kim, the Korean Manny Pacquiao. You know, it is what it is. Obviously, this is just a replacement opponent because fucking what's-his-face is a dumbass, Sam Goodman. Hopefully, we never have to listen to that dude's name again. And hopefully after this, we can get Inouye versus MJ or Junto. Bam, I don't know about him, but nonetheless, you know, I'm happy to see Inouye go in there and knock the fucking Korean out. Somebody was talking about pound for pound, so let's look at Ring Magazine's current pound for pound list. Currently, they got Alexander Usyk number one. I think it's fair. Nobody on this list has had to fight at the disadvantage that Alexander Usyk has to. Bud Crawford obviously is going to be fighting at a big disadvantage. And if he wins against Canelo, I definitely think at that point you could easily put him back into the number one position, right? And I think justifiably so. Becoming a 3-weight undisputed champion, going up 2 weights to beat the much bigger fighter. If that's not enough to make you number one, then I don't know what is. For Inouye, unfortunately for him, I think he's going to be sliding to number 3, potentially sliding to number 4. If Arthur Beterbiev goes in there and stops Dmitry Bivol and does it impressively, I think he moves up the chart as well, which means Inouye is going to drop. And not because he's a bum. See, that's the thing. Some of these boxing fans, they want to like put the black fighter at number 1 and keep him there, even if he's not doing anything, even if he's not proving himself based on what he's done in the past. But pound for pound continues to move, right? If Inouye's fighting guys like the Korean Pacquiao and then that unknown Mexican kid, you're not going to fucking make ground, right? You're going to lose ground, especially if Crawford's fighting Canelo Alvarez, who's on this pound for pound list. And if Beterbiev beats Bivol, who's on this pound for pound list, right? They're both going to move up. At that point, I'd have Bud Crawford number 1, Usyk number 2, and Better Biev at number 3, Inouye sliding down to number 4. Obviously, if Bivol gets stopped, he's probably going to drop down, probably right out of the list if he gets knocked out. If Canelo loses to Crawford, he's probably going to slide down the list as well, allowing Jesse Bam Rodriguez to move up the list, even though he's in a similar position. Who's he fighting next, right? The Puma fight against what's his face, Ioka fight fell through, so maybe they could get the Ioka fight now. I don't know, but the reality is, you got the South African fighter who is the WBO title, but is that a kind of guy you beat that's going to elevate you on the pound for pound list? A guy who nobody knows, who has one victory. Tank Davis as well, fighting nobody. So how he's going to move up the list. Junto fighting, a good prospect type fighter, but that ain't going to move you up the list. For Devin Haney, he could fucking shoot right up this list into the top 5. Where you have Bud, Usyk, Better Biev, Inouye, Bam is going to be there, and then probably Devin Haney. And then, we'll see what other fighters do, who they take on, and what they do to prove themselves. But people got to actually take on good opposition to move up a pound for pound list. Junto would splatter Bam at 118. I think so. I'm not impressed with Bam. I'm sorry, Sean. Well, I don't know how you cannot be impressed. His performance against Estrada was fantastic. Monster Inouye is number 1 ballot Hall of Famer. Well, that's true. That goes without doubt, just like Bud Crawford is too. Bud is too inactive to be pound for pound. Well, come on. He just beat fucking Madrimov to become a 4-weight world champion. How's he too inactive? It hasn't even been a year since that fight. Come on, man. How is Haney even on the list? I'm surprised Shakur isn't on it over him. The problem is Shakur has had some piss poor performances recently. So I think that's really sort of hurt him. Shakur isn't there, but Haney and Tank both are. Bizarre. Well, but people feel that Shakur has been terrible in his last few fights, like stinking the joint out. You can't count the Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney because that fight didn't happen. So we can't really punish him based on that. His last performance before that was Regis Prograis, which was a spectacular victory for him, right? And then prior to that, Lomachenko. So he definitely deserves to be on the pound for pound list. Tank is there, but yet he hasn't fought any pound for pound caliber opponents, right? Let's keep it real. Tank is never unified. Exactly. If you fight Haney with Ryan completely away, and yes, he belongs pound for pound because he was going into the Ryan fight, how is Tio not on there? Tio hasn't done anything. Tio literally has been gifted victories against mediocre opponents. The best opponent he had was Taylor recently. All the other fights he's had, he's looked like shit. Inouye versus Ball at 126 in the UK. Who you got? Well, I think Inouye destroys Ball, but I think it's a great matchup. Haney should be higher on the goofy rankings. How should he be higher? They booed and walked out early on Shakur in his hometown. That's not a good look. Exactly. Park versus MJ. Eddie says Inouye is ducking MJ, but he is mandatory, so he has to wait. What's the problem with Eddie? Well, Eddie. Eddie's just pushing a narrative to fucking hype up his fighter. That's what he's supposed to do. He's a promoter. So you can't believe anything he says. If he wasn't promoting MJ and he was promoting fucking Inouye, he'd be completely saying something different, right? So it is what it is. Yeah, Eddie's just doing his job. But you think about this list. Definitely, I think that Bivol, if he gets beat by Better Biev, is going to fall off this list. If Shakur looks good moving forward, he's probably going to move back onto the list, right? That's the thing about these lists. They're not stagnant. They continuously change based on what people are doing. That's why I hate these people that are fucking so cemented on pushing race into a pound for pound list. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what are you fucking doing, right? Many people think Tank Davis doesn't even deserve to be on the pound for pound list because he's never fucking even unified titles. I think he deserves to be on the list because he's been dominant against the opposition he's faced, kind of like Golovkin was dominant against the opposition he faced. But the same question people had for Golovkin, when are you going to step up and face elite pound for pound fighters, is the same question people have for Davis. Golovkin did it. He fought fucking Canelo and was robbed in the first fight, right? And then the second fight was very competitive. I thought was a draw. So I think going into the third fight, it was 0-1-1 on Canelo's resume. But unfortunately, that's not how it turned out. Tank Davis, if he takes on some good opposition, he should be on the list higher. But the problem is he going to take on good opposition? And for Tio, if Tio does well in this tournament, he's going to be fucking right up there on the charts. If he beats Boots Ennis and then beats fucking Ryan Garcia, the Haney winner, he's going to be fucking probably top 5 easily, maybe top 3. So it's in his hands to be there. Is it good to eliminate the American market? But who's eliminating the American market? Jay Opataya is supposed to be top 10. No, he's not. Take Haney off. Like, what's his face? Drunk Irishman thinks that Zerto deserves to be top 10. And I would say Zerto deserves to be top 10 above Jay Opataya. When Zerto beats Jay, he gets 10. When Zerto beats Jay, he probably moves up to fucking 8, maybe 7. American fans are worried about Turkey eliminating boxing in the States, except he's bringing boxing to the States, right? Crawford's last fight, California. Crawford Canelo, Vegas. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney's next fight, New York City. When Canelo beats Bud, at least top 2. I'll put him top 3. I still think probably... Oh, no. Yeah, I guess top 2, right? Probably you have to say Usyk and then Canelo at that point. Okay, maybe 3. Maybe the winner of Better Biev and Bivol I have above Canelo. Pork, Turkey has fights in the U.S. too. Sean cool with Tank being on the list because he's power puncher biased. Yeah, but it's not that. It's based on how you win the fights. He's destroying fucking the opposition he's facing. Even if it's not necessarily all the fighters we want him to face, he's winning the way he should be winning. He's destroying those guys, right? Who do you want on the list? A guy who fucking looked like shit versus fucking a no-name opponent? But because he's somebody you like, you think he should be on the pound-for-pound list, like Shakur. Jai gonna destroy Zerto. You clowns don't know boxing. What are you talking about? Nobody even made a prediction. We say if he beats fucking Jai, he's going to be pound for pound. Yeah, and he should. And for Jai, if he beats Zerto, he's probably going to be pound for pound as well. Because finally, he's going to fight a legitimate fucking opponent to unify titles at cruiserweight. Outside of his 2 wins against Breedis, which were both close, he's fought bum-ass opponents. And I like him because I like punchers. And he fights the way I like. But let's be honest. He definitely fucking has a lot to prove still. Zerto, on the other hand, he's literally a 2-weight world champion who's unified. He's done more at that weight than Jai Opataya has. If Jai lost the first fight versus Breidis, Raf, I don't know what you see. Cap, Jai has terrible defense, stanky legs versus a guy not even top 10. And he has poor fucking endurance. American market has been eliminating itself. It's not Turkey's fault that they are not good in boxing management. That's a fact. All these people acting like somehow it's Saudi Arabia's fault the American market is dying has nothing to do with fucking him. It has to do with fucking all the bullshit between Showtime and HBO and all these fucking cross-promotional fights that never fucking happened, and how we waited 8 years for fucking Floyd versus Pacquiao, and how we waited 6 years for Crawford versus fucking Spence. That's what killed fucking boxing in America. Had nothing to do with fucking Saudi Arabia. It had to do with these people fucking us over for years, feeding us bullshit fights with the anticipation that eventually we're going to get the fights we wanted. That's what's killed the American market. And the fact that these fans are so fucking racially fucking biased that they just can't support boxing in America unless it's their fighter who's fucking getting all the attention. Sean, is Saudi Arabia the new Vegas and boxing capital? Sure looks like it. Atlantic City, Vegas, now Saudi Arabia. Hey, It is what it is. For people like Knockout Boxing who say, oh, we can't have fight parties at nighttime anymore. Fights are at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What are you talking about? See, this just shows you how old he is. I used to watch boxing in America, and tons of the big fights I saw were literally from 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday, which was perfect because obviously I was a teenager. Leave Uncle Al alone. He got nothing to do with this. He got nothing to do with it. He's killed boxing, but I didn't even say Uncle Al. You did. I said Showtime and HBO. You say Shakur looked like shit against Artem, but he won every round except one. He showed levels. Dude, you can fucking love those levels all you want, but that ain't fucking winning you fans. That ain't fucking winning you attention. You go in to fight a dude that fucking is nobody, but you win every round except one. Who gives a shit? You fought a nobody who was coming off of a loss. Congratulations. And your fight prior to that, you threw less fucking punches than fucking in boxing history. I like him, but I can't like those performances, just like I couldn't like Rigo's performances when he did that either. Upper echelon YouTube channels like this actually said Tank Davis exposed Turkey for not kissing the ring because they're stupid motherfuckers, right? Stupid. They'd rather have all this negative drama in boxing instead of just getting great boxing to talk about. I'd rather talk about great matchups and great fight cards and fucking great opponents and great fucking wins as opposed to talk about, oh, me. But these dudes are fucking, they're not boxing fans. Egos and Fannin just came back. What's the first thing Fannin did? Accuse fucking Bud Crawford of being on PEDs so he could talk about why Spence got his ass beat by him. Right? Because Spence alluded that people could be off for a long time and be juicing on PEDs and then come back and nobody would know. Like you've been out for fucking almost 2 years now. Okay. Like, give me a break. Like, of course that's Fannin because him, like Knockout Boxing, PBC shills. And their fucking ship is sinking because soon there's going to be no PBC to fucking shill for. PBC is going to join fucking DAZN and Turkey, or they're going to fucking be irrelevant in boxing. Fannin Boxing is back to his bullshit, of course. Does he have mental issues or something? He does have mental issues. That's why he was fucking in the crazy fucking bin for fucking the last few months. Just like before when he had a fucking mental breakdown. That dude's fucking mental. That's why you're a lawyer, but you don't practice law anymore. You don't have a real job. Your wife does. But I think she divorced him because now he's not at home anymore. There's no more dog and kids in the background. I think he's fucking divorced, kicked out, living in his own apartment by himself, having his mental fucking breakdowns, all being a PBC shill. That's it, PBC. Prevent Bud Crawford, right? Like prevent Bud from proving himself. It's weird when you notice he tries so much to win each debate in the name for Tank. Like, why defend another grown man so much? So cringe. Cringe. There's a lot going on in boxing. But let me break down my pound for pound as we talked about. I think Usyk is 1, Crawford is 2, Inouye is 3, Beterbiev is 4, Bam is 5, Tank is 6, Canelo is 7, Bivol is 8, Junto is 9, Haney is 10. And that's my list. But of course, all of it depends on what these dudes do next. Sean, that's below the belt. No, it's fucking true. It ain't below the belt when I'm telling truth. He not living with his wife anymore because he's in a whole new fucking apartment, a whole new setting. No more kids in the background, no more dog, right? He's in his own fucking bachelor pad because he's a mental case and his wife got sick of fucking taking care of him. It would not be surprised, would you? PBC is over 1 billion in debt. That's also no surprise, right? When all the fucking truth drops about Al Heyman and how he was a fucking crook and a thief in the music industry, got kicked out of the music industry and brought it over to boxing, and eventually he's going to fucking leave and have to go bankrupt because of all the money he scammed out of people. It is what it is, right? Tank over Canelo on the pound for pound list. Well, let's be fair. Canelo Alvarez did get beat by Bivol. Nobody's beaten Tank Davis. He's destroyed everyone that he steps in the ring with. But if Canelo beats Bud Crawford, he's going to elevate himself back up into pound top 5. Tank wanted a lot of money to fight Roach. Al Heyman said, nah, can't blame Al this time. I agree. It scares me to think that these fanboys would do for Tank in private. Diddy. Oh, sorry, no Diddy. You know what these dudes would do. They're fucking looking for a Diddy white party. Sean got Tank over Canelo. Yeah. Canelo Alvarez has not looked fucking sensational since before the Bivol fight. That's just the truth. But it ain't hate. Because if he beats Bud Crawford, I think then he fucking jumps back up the list. Behind the winner of Better Be Evan Bivol, behind Inouye, behind Usyk, and Crawford obviously would fall down the list. And we know John Boxing going to be real in his feelings when that happens, if it happens. Here's another good fight that's being announced. William Zepeda versus Tevin Farmer. It's good. It's about time this fight got made because obviously the first fight was pretty controversial. We were looking forward to Shakur Stevenson fighting Zepeda, but the truth is the fight that interesting if Zepeda won a controversial fight with Tevin Farmer? It'd be much better for William Zepeda to go in there and really do what he needs to do against Tevin Farmer, which is win convincingly. Until he does that, I think he needs to rematch him. And I think Tevin Farmer deserves the opportunity. We know he's been kicking about PED testing and all of that stuff, but, we'll see. I guess that's why he's getting the fight, because he's been making so much allegations against PED use and the fact that testing was supposed to happen, but it didn't. I'm a Tank fan, but his fanboys have no proper defense for him. All they do is get mad and rant. Well, as you guys see, a lot of guys think that I have Tank Davis on the pound for pound list and he shouldn't have him ranked above Canelo, and whatever it may be. I don't hate Tank Davis at all. Just like everybody else in boxing, I just want to see him take on great opposition to prove how great he is. And until he does that, we don't know how great he is. The same way we wanted Golovkin to fight top middleweights, we want fucking Tank to fight top lightweights. That's it. Tank said what has Shakur done? Frank Martin, Hector Luis, etc. Shakur is a 3-weight world champion who unified titles at 130, something Tank Davis has never done. And Tank Davis is not a 3-weight world champion. He's a 2-weight world champion. And at the second weight, he's never beat a champion. He won a vacant title. No different than Lomachenko or Shakur or Branchek. Keyshawn going to beat a champion to win a title. They all cry about PEDs when they lose. Of course, it's the easy one. Southpaw TV is the prime example of a man who loves Tank. He dropped to his knees for Tank in an instant. Ugh. Lamont Roach lost to Jamal Herring. Shakur Stevens beat the shit out of Jamal Herring. Yeah, that's the fact, right? Jamal Herring got schooled by Herring, and we saw what Shakur did to him. Shakur destroyed him, stopped him, right? Who would pick Lamont Roach to beat Shakur Stevenson? Nobody. Some people would even say it was a cherry pick, right? It ain't a cherry pick for Tank to pull him up in weight. But imagine if Shakur was pulling Lamont Roach up in weight to fight him for the WBC title. Garcia never won a belt ever. Which Garcia? Ryan Garcia? Who? Yeah, that's the thing. Ryan is a social media name, right? That's what's been successful for him. The fact that he has a big social media presence. But as far as what he's done in boxing, what has he done in boxing? Like, he fought Tank Davis. That's Tank Davis's most successful fight. Yet he fought a dude who inevitably will never become a champion. And if he gets knocked out by Cruz and then gets beat by fucking Ramirez, will disappear from boxing at fucking 26 years old. Yeah, I remember that hollow on H Money. They said, Tank fanboys, didn't you guys call Herring a bum? So what does that make Roach, who got dropped and beat by that so-called bum? Facts. They all didn't know what to say, the Tank fans. That's always what these dudes do. They end up putting themselves in these awkward positions. It's like knockout boxing was saying, oh, so fighting Tank Davis's leftovers is now great. No, no one's saying Ryan Garcia fighting Cruz is great. But let's be fair. Cruz and Ryan are both fighters you beat already. So it's a fair fight. And for Devin Haney to beat the winner, it's a fair fight as well. Because you didn't want Devin Haney. You could have fucking forced the WBA to fight Devin Haney when you were the regular champion. You didn't. Even though you're the money man, you're the superstar, yet you're a superstar who can't make a fucking fight. Let's just compare Canelo Alvarez to Tank Davis, because Tank Davis is the face of American boxing. So anytime Canelo wants to make a fight, the fight gets made. Like that. Why? Because everybody knows they'll make more money fighting him than they will fighting anyone else. How come Tank Davis doesn't have the same leverage? Because he ain't paying fighters that much money. He's not paying guys like that, right? He wants to do what Floyd did, which is fucking fight guys and give them limited money and take the whole fucking cake for himself. You can do that, but then you're going to fucking be in a position where you don't have any fucking big name opponents on your resume. So is it safe to say Spence is done? Done. What weight was Zepeda Shakur supposed to be? 135. John Boxing actually said Roach is bigger than Tank. You know, JB is such a fucking bullshit artist. Like, he defends Tank Davis consistently for fighting guys coming up in weight. Tank Davis fought multiple guys coming up in weight. Has never unified. Has only won two legitimate titles, both at 130. Has never won a legitimate title at 140 or 135. Right? But you're going to fucking give Devin Haney a pass for fighting Lomachenko, who was smaller. And of course, if Loma would have got the decision, they would have said that Loma drained Devin Haney. But then Ryan Garcia getting drained by Tank Davis was an even playing field. See, that's an even playing field. And now Roach is bigger. Well, everybody that fucking Lomachenko fought at 135 was bigger than him. And you didn't use that as a way to fucking defend him beating those guys, to justify the victories. You still shit on every opponent that he fought, right? These dudes just lie and they expose themselves consistently. Loma walked out of the Tank negotiations for something, money, clauses, etc. Of course. We know that fucking contract was basically done. That's why he flew from the Ukraine to the States to fucking go over it and sign it. You don't walk away from a contract you've been spending months to negotiate unless there's some dodgy bullshit business going on. And Tank Davis exposed himself because he went on social media and said he wanted to get paid $30 million to fight fucking Lomachenko. So why do you think Lomachenko walked away from the fucking fight? Because they were low fucking balling him like they do everybody. And he's like, fuck you. I don't need you. And he doesn't need him. Tank Davis is the one who's in desperate need of a fucking big name opponent. Desperate need, man. Desperate need. Yes. Speaking of Errol Spence, the Sebastian Funduro Errol Spence fight, which was targeted for March 29th, is now canceled, inevitably, which has Funduro looking for potential replacement opponents. See, this is fucking Funduro. He could have fought Bud Crawford for 3-belt unification, but the stupid motherfucker got played by the PBC, just like Tim Tszyu did, right? And end up fucking spending a whole year not getting paid anything, because he didn't get paid big money to fight Tim Tszyu. He was a replacement opponent. So what did he get paid? 150? And now he's been sitting at home, not fighting at all, waiting for a fucking big pay-per-view fight with Errol Spence. And he got nothing out of that. Fucking zero. He could have fought Bud Crawford Turkey would have fucking paid for it for 3-belt unification. Probably got fucking $3 to $5 million. But fucking now is going to fight some bullshit opponent who's probably going to knock his ass out for fucking, he'll be lucky if he gets paid $1 million. Lucky. Like if he fights Charles Conwell, which is what people are saying, he's going to get fucking knocked out and he probably won't make more than $1 million for that fight. Because no one's going to fucking pay for that fight. You can't put that on pay-per-view. Charles Conwell, Sebastian Funduro, right? Or you're going to have Funduro fight Lubin. Okay, you could put that on an undercard of a Tank Davis fight. And both guys maybe could scrape fucking $1 million each for it. Maybe. Right? You know, these dudes play themselves. And this is what the PBC has done to these fighters again and again and again. Fucking Ruiz, Wilder, fucking that other bum heavyweight that they had, fucking the Polish dude, fucking Funduro, others, right? You know, these dudes waiting for fucking, you know, the bag. Isaac Cruz waited how long to get the Tank Davis rematch? Spence looks like he has no punch resistance. Well, that's it. He's done, man. He got his ass beat up so bad in that Bud Crawford fight. Now he just doesn't have the heart to fucking do what he needs to do to step in the ring against a quality opponent. I've always been under the impression that unification always trumps mandatory. Zurdo and Opataya want to fight. Why does Zurdo have to take the mandatory instead, regardless of it was already ordered? No, it doesn't trump mandatories that have already been ordered. It trumps, theoretically, mandatories. And if you put the paperwork in for a fight before the fight is mandated by the sanctioning body, then they will hold back the mandated fight and allow you to move forward with a unification fight because unification trumps mandatory. But if you're waiting around and you didn't put in the paperwork and you haven't done what you need to do to set up a unification fight, or if it was just the timing where a fight was mandated because obviously you just beat another fighter who was a world champion, who maybe had a preceding mandatory fight available, then you got to fight your mandatory. It is what it is, right? You're not going to cancel fights that have been already ordered because that would be unfair for the mandated opponent who put himself in that position. Actually got the fucking sanctioning body to say, okay, let's do it. And now you're going to say, sorry, no. You're out of this conversation. We're going to make this fight now. Sebastian Funduro versus Nick Ball. What are you talking about? That would be the clown show fight, that's for sure. To be fair, I think even fucking Sebastian Funduro would beat Nick Ball. But yeah, who's Sebastian Funduro going to fight next? His sister's career has really went up. He is stagnated. Speaking of potential superstar, some people say Pitbull versus Funduro. Who fucking says that? Norfolk's very own Keyshawn Davis fighting WBO champion Dennis Barancek for his WBO world title. This is great news. This is exactly what we said was going to happen. So it's no surprise that it is going to happen. The only thing that's interesting and intriguing is depending on what happens with the IBF. Is Lomachenko going to come back? And if he comes back, would he take on Keyshawn Davis for unification? Or is he going to retire and allow Muratalla the opportunity to fight to win that IBF title? And then a Keyshawn Muratalla fight could happen. Obviously, Top Rank probably would love that to happen. But at the same time, if Lomachenko is going to be available, they're obviously still going to be pushing his fights as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this works moving forward. I think Keyshawn's a great fighter. Obviously, he's young. He talked about if he can't get a unification fight at 135, he's more than eager to move to 140. And I think, really, to be truthful, I think Top Rank would be happy for him to beat Dennis Barancek and then move straight up to 140 to take on Barboza, Jack Catterall winner for the WBO title at 140, right? That's kind of the way the Top Rank has maneuvered themselves consistently, right? And so I would not be surprised if that is exactly what happens. And at that point, Keyshawn Davis is at 135. Sorry, Shakur Stevenson is at 135. Keyshawn is at 140. There's no more conversation about them needing to fight each other because that fight would no longer really be as relevant anymore. And for Keyshawn to move up to take on the winner of Barboza Catterall, I think that fight would be heavily anticipated, right? Because that would easily be the best opponent that he's been in with. And to become a 2-weight world champion in how many fights? Less than 15? That would be pretty impressive. And then you still have potential matchups at that weight class as well. He talked about potentially moving to welterweight. You let all those other boys fight through that 2025 tournament. And then Keyshawn could be a sleeper just on the outside looking in. The WBO did boxing justice by pushing Spence away. Of course. Like Fannin today was trying to put the blame on the WBO for the fact that the fight is off. No, it had nothing to do with the WBO. The WBC still sanctioned the fight. They could have still fought for that fucking title. It just, the WBO wouldn't have sanctioned their title to be on the line. And in truth, I mean, we knew that was the situation. When he negotiated to duck Bud Crawford, that's the fight he should have negotiated to take. And then Bud would have had his interim fight before Canelo fighting for unification. But it is what it is. He has himself to blame. Imagine if Spence won. That division will be held up for 3 more years. Of course. Yeah, exactly. Keyshawn said he don't want the Andy Cruz smoke. That was weak to say. I don't know why all these people are so excited about Andy Cruz. The dude hasn't even had 5 professional fights yet. He's a Cuban fighter who's fucking virtually unknown to the American market. We know American markets do not embrace Cuban fighters. So why would Keyshawn Davis, who's literally fighting for a WBO world title, be concerned with Andy Cruz? Andy Cruz is a step back. Andy Cruz got to do something. Maybe challenge himself with the IBF title, try to win that title. And then when he has a title, now he becomes fucking relevant once again. But at this point, who gives a fuck about Andy Cruz? Like, there's a lot of fighters at 135 with more name recognition than him. Let's be fair. Do you think Andy Cruz loses to Omar next week? No, I think he should win. He's good. Keyshawn knows who Cruz is. That I can promise you. Yeah, of course he does. And he also knows that he doesn't draw fucking flies to shit. I guarantee you he knows that too. Because who's Andy Cruz fighting this Omar guy? What card is that going to be on? How many fucking seated arena is that going to be? Is he headlining? No, he ain't headlining. It ain't a big fight. No one's talking about it. No one cares. What's he 4-0 against him? He's 4-0. Yeah. Where I'm from, that's a sweep. No, he's 3-0. But his career right now, he's 4-0 as a pro. It is a sweep. But once again, who the fuck is Andy Cruz? Like, if you want big fights to get big money, the fight's got to be fucking something that generates attention. If Keyshawn fought Andy Cruz, hardcore boxing fans would be the only ones even fucking interested at all in that fight. Keyshawn has surpassed Cruz as a pro. The amateur losses mean nothing at this point. Nothing. Most people that watch these fights never even watch him lose to Andy Cruz in the fucking amateurs. So outside of a few people saying that he did get beat 3 times by him, most people don't even know. Like, you look at fucking Gary Antoine Russell. He beat fucking Boots Ennis multiple times in the amateurs. No one's fucking saying, Boots, you got to fight Gary Russell. You got to fucking, get vengeance on your amateur losses. No one's saying that. The only reason people pull that up on Keyshawn is the same reason they hate on Shakur and the same reason they hate on fucking Bud Crawford. PBC fanboys who fucking consistently fucking push against top-ranked fighters. And all these guys connected to Bud Crawford, they really got to fucking be in their bonnets for. Tank fans logic, how many tickets you sell? No, I don't sound like a Tank fan. You're just being fucking very small-minded in your scope. Keyshawn is fighting for the WBO fucking title next. What's Andy Cruz doing next? Let's look. I say, if you want the fight, go win the IBF fucking title. You know, IBF, we know, mandates fucking no-name fucking Cuban fighters into fucking world title fights. Go ask William Skull. So, you know, he could totally go that way and get a fucking IBF title. I don't know. Maybe Andy and Keyshawn number. Maybe he does. But that's irrelevant. Andy doesn't impress me. Kid Austin is fighting for a title. What has he done? What has he done? He was lucky and gifted to get a title because fucking Mexican boxing's #1 fighter ended up losing his fight against Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur needed a replacement opponent. That's why he's getting the fight. Not because he earned the fight. Not that it's a fight people were asking for. But more people know Kid Austin in American boxing than they know fucking Andy Cruz. At least he's on social media and speaks English. Andy Cruz, you never see anyone fucking retweet or repost his fucking comments on social media. Because nobody knows he fucking exists. Cuban fighters are irrelevant in the American market. You know that, and I know that. So let's not fucking ignore it to try to hate on Keyshawn, who's literally fighting for a world title next. So him fighting for a world title is secondary to taking on fucking Andy Cruz? Come on, man. Get real. Kid Austin is doing what he is supposed to do, trying to be great. Yeah. I mean, if Andy Cruz wants to be great, do it. But you expecting to jump up and getting a Keyshawn Davis fight, why? Why would you get a fight right now? Based on what? What has he done that anybody fucking can even tell me off the top of their head? He's literally 4-0 as a pro. But I'm supposed to fucking be against Keyshawn Davis fighting for a world title. He should drop that and he should take on Andy Cruz in a fight no one gives a shit about except Keyshawn Davis haters. Okay. That makes sense. Like, boxing is a business, right? We all know that. So why do people like Rick Porco try to fucking ignore the fact that that's what boxing is? You know, the old adage is, if it makes money, it makes sense. Nothing about fighting Andy Cruz at this point makes fucking sense, especially if you think he's such a dangerous opponent. But let's see, who's Andy Cruz fighting? Because we know it's going to be a huge card. It's a matchroom card that fucking, I don't even know who he's fighting. Like, what undercard he's on. Andy Cruz, there he is. The great Cuban. 4-0. Right? 4-0 Cuban, 29 years old. He's fighting Omar Gamez, who's 20-1. Looks good on the outside. Let's see who this kid lost to. He lost to Jose Nunez, 15-0-2. He just beat Chris Colbert. Oh, so that's not bad. So Andy Cruz is taking on a guy coming off of a career-defining victory, even though I still don't know who the kid is too much. I can tell you I didn't see the Gomez fucking Colbert fight. And let's see what card this is a part of. So this is happening in the Vegas Ballroom. Okay. Diego Pacheco versus Steven Nelson. I like Pacheco, but Steve Nelson, right? He's fighting Gamez. Ernesto Machado fighting Jose Pedraza. Ernesto Machado, he's got a lot more name recognition in boxing right now than Andy Cruz does. The fact that that kid is getting pushed against Pedraza right now, that tells you they're excited about him. But then again, you know, he's got a more exciting style. 16-0, 15 KOs, right? When we talk about Andy Cruz, a Cuban-style boxer, I mean, If you enjoy that kind of fighting, that's fine. But I can tell you, there's nothing exciting about Cuban amateur fighters doing this every time they think they land a punch, trying to con the fucking judges into thinking they scored points. It gets fucking nauseating to watch, right? Nauseating. Everybody knew in the amateurs which guy was going to be a better pro, and that was Keyshawn Davis, because he had much more of a pro style. But if you want to see the Andy Cruz fight, good luck with that, because you're going to be waiting a long fucking time. A long time. But as far as this card, it ain't too bad. Matchroom, Kevin Rooney Jr. pushing it, Vegas card. Top 3 fights, not too bad. Can Ramirez beat Haney? Yes, he can. He is a good left hooker, right? And we know Devin Haney gets hit by left hooks. So if Ryan Garcia could hit him with a left hook, why can't Ramirez? And Ramirez, unlike Ryan Garcia, he actually was a very good amateur, was part of the U.S. Olympic team, and he fucking has a jab, something Ryan Garcia doesn't have. So, boring fight. I don't think it's going to be boring. Ramirez is going to be pushing the action against fucking Haney for sure. Boring fight was Barboza. But, you know, I think Barboza at this point would beat Devin Haney. That's me. But that's going to be a boring fight. Barboza versus Jack Catterall. Does Madrimov outclass Virgil? I think he wins. I think he's a better boxer, a more natural 154-pound fighter. I think he would fucking knock out Sergey Bohochuk. So I do think he beats Virgil. But if Virgil's able to beat Madrimov, that's a statement. Seeing how well Madrimov did against Bud Crawford is definitely going to build up Virgil Ortiz. Ramirez lost his fire, in my opinion. Yeah, that's probably true, right? When he walked away from that WBC title fight with Prograis to get married, right? At that point, you knew that he made enough money. He's not that interested anymore. Ramirez looked weak in his last fight against who? He fought Barboza in his last fight. Morella Cuban doesn't sell. Not done much, but Benavidez had bigger name, is giving him a chance. Oh my God. The only reason David Benavidez is giving fucking Morella a name is because the PBC's got no fucking other choices. That's the only reason. Otherwise, he'd have to fight some big name opponent for another sanctioning, another promotional company who potentially is going to knock him out, and the PBC will get nothing out of it. At least if he loses to Morel, they still fucking promote Morel. But Morel, he's done more than fucking Andy Cruz has. He has double-digit victories. He's beat opponents, you know, scored sensational knockout victories, scary knockout wins. He built a fan base where he lives, right? And he speaks a little bit of English. So he's done a lot more work than Andy Cruz has. It's good. Pound for pound king. All good. Just came out of the hospital. You know, it's so funny in Taiwan. You know, you get your gallbladder out. I was in the hospital 4 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Whereas the States and Canada, you get that out and you're in the hospital for 1 day. They love to fucking milk it in Taiwan. But to be fair, Taiwan's medical. It cost me 5,500 NT, which is like 150 US, maybe 165. So to get my gallbladder removed and be in the hospital for 4 days, I spent 165 American. My gallbladder, I had gallstones. Tank said Keyshawn and Kid Austin are out here looking better than Shakur. They looking better than you too, Tank. They are fighting world champions. Well, Tank will say anything to fucking duck Shakur Stevens, because Like Keyshawn knows that Andy Cruz is a dangerous fighter, Tank Davis knows Shakur is a dangerous fighter. Damn cheap. Damn cheap, right? And it's ironic, they wanted to charge me 17,000 NT, which would have been more than $500 just for this band-aid that they put inside of you, which sort of, I don't know, melts inside of you and make sure that you don't have any internal bleeding or anything else. So that would have been 500 just for that one thing. Wow, in the States would have been about 50,000. Would it cost that much money to remove your gallbladder in the States? Because I know it's a 1 day thing, right? That's probably why it's a 1 day thing, so it doesn't cost you that much. I think they said it was about 5,000 to 10,000 US. I think I looked just to see how much my sister probably paid. Benavidez will drown Morrell late. Well, I think Morrell's going to fucking beat Benavidez. Faster feet, faster hands. I think he's just a better all-around fighter. Benavidez is flat-footed. Didn't look great at 175. He's a guy who's been really using his weight bully status at 168 pounds for years now. And who's the best win on his resume? Caleb Plant. Right? Plant is good, but I think fucking Morrell knocks fucking Plant out. What is Janibek doing now? Begging for a fight. He's hoping that the Saudis fucking have him fight, what's his face? Shariz Hamza in unification. Because, of course, Shariz Hamza is going to be on that February 22nd fight against Carlos Adames. If he wins, for sure, that's going to be a fight that Turkey and Saudi Arabia's push. Him versus Janibek for 3-belt unification, which would be good. I hope that's a fight that Turkey makes. It definitely is a fight I think boxing fans will be excited for. But thanks, everyone, for jumping in. I'm going to call it a day. We've been on for almost 2 hours. It's nice to get back on the live and chop up boxing. I mean, boxing is killing it, man. It's going to be a busy February, and this spring is going to be boxing, boxing, boxing. So I'm sure we'll be seeing each other on these live chats for quite a bit. Kambosos had a fast hook and caught Haney, but Haney out adjusted quickly and was fine. Guess not everyone can pull it off. Well, let's be fair. Nobody would say that fucking George Kambosos has a great left hand. I don't think I've ever heard that. I'm good. I just need to take it easy, but obviously going back to work tomorrow. So, wish me luck. But everyone, have a great day, and I will see you soon. Peace out.